Welcome everybody to The Cave. We're here with Janet and Rich again, and we're talking today about podcasts and the kind of styles we can do and the formats and the different varieties and why we would do one over the other one.
Yeah.
So where do we begin?
Scripted?
Okay, scripted. So super structural.
Yeah.
And okay, so if we start scripted, where are we going to end?
Chaos.
Chaos. Okay, and everything in between.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say there's three types. There's scripted, there's unscripted or freeform,
Yeah.
and just chaos.
All right.
Oh,
Chaos.
experimental.
Experimental chaos.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Maybe not the best for brands or corporates that are looking for kind of structure and
Actually have a purpose behind their podcast.
yeah. I guess if there's an educational element or a more serious tone, you would tend to not be in the direction of chaos or experimental. Not to say impossible, obviously it depends on the brand.
It could be a tactical execution of that somewhere.
Sure.
Yeah.
Maybe if you're, I don't know, like an energy drink, you could get away with that.
Yeah.
So scripted, it would be good for someone who has content that is not necessarily where a participant is with them. So a single person podcast, typically that would be more scripted. And scripted doesn't necessarily mean stiff or formal.
Yeah.
It just that there's a structure that's going to flow and that person knows exactly what they're going to cover through that episode.
So we probably script the intros for the audience. And the guests would probably be prepped with a set.
Yes.
Well, scripted is often like an essay or something like that. And a lot of people, to your point, will do like a hybrid.
Yeah.
So there'll be scripted parts of it and then maybe freeform middle. But the scripted ones are pretty like polished and rehearsed and that sort of thing. The problem with them is that they are possibly a bit more painful to record because if you're going to be quite critical of yourself. I think if you go off script or say something wrong, so they're more of a pain to record and definitely I would say more difficult to edit.
Well, I don't know. I think if you've got a really good talent that's used to reading off an auto cue, it's a lot easier than a whole bunch of amateurs doing chaotic things trying to stitch a story together.
Yeah.
I mean, a good, well-written, scripted thing can work. It works. We did a bit of a hybrid not so long ago with a medical brand, where it was a scripted talk show, a scripted podcast, whatever you want to describe it. And it was really important to do that script because the brand needed a certain angle on the topic.
Well, also, if you've got to cover certain things in order to cover a topic, so let's say it's very educational,
very technical,
or technical, you've got to cover an introduction to that topic. You've got to explain it sufficiently and wrap it up. There is structure there.
Yeah.
If you miss out the middle bits or you don't explain properly what the problem is that you're about to solve, it's hard for the listener to follow along, especially if it's audio only. So, scripted certainly has its place, and that's why I say it's important to note that although it sounds that it's going to be very formal, it doesn't necessarily need to come across. It's not going to sound unnatural.
I think it's the type of content. So for like storytelling and education and those sorts of things, I think scripted works quite well. But I do think you run the risk of, if you're doing it for entertainment purposes, you might run the risk of sounding a bit stiff. It doesn't really open up much opportunity no opportunity for off the cuff, more conversational stuff, and possibly less personality comes out of that kind of thing.
Well, I think that's why if entertainment is your angle, you probably wouldn't go with the scripted format.
Except if you're someone like Bill Maher.
Oh, yeah.
Comedian, super entertaining, does scripted.
Is it super scripted?
Well, not his whole show, but there's portions of it that are.
Yeah, he does those.
2 auto cue scripted.
Yes.
Done.
Yes.
So that's a different angle.
Yeah.
Scripted has got its place.
Yeah.
Maybe the answer here is that if it's right for what you're doing, it doesn't matter what format you're choosing.
Yeah.
They have their place in different
And
areas.
it is possible that it's harder to pull off
Mm.
because you do need a strong talent behind it.
To sound authentic, it's harder to pull off. Like even in our podcast, every time we do the scripted sections, like an intro or something,
it's hard.
Struggle.
Yeah.
Oh, Richie. Fantastic. Let us know what you think about Rich's openings, guys. But
it's my closings that are unfortunate.
We do it so often and so many times. I don't know, Rich. By the time we've done the 6th take, 10th take, we're fine.
Yeah, well, we give up.
So
We stop at that point.
this what's happening now, freeform.
Not chaos.
Not chaos.
What's the difference? Yeah.
Okay, so the difference here is that we have a structure that is a little bit more loose.
Yeah.
We know what our topic is.
Yeah.
We have come into this discussion with an understanding of what we're going to cover, but we haven't listed, I haven't said, okay, these are the things I'm going to talk about. Rich hasn't said, okay, these are my points. You haven't told us your opinion on each element.
Yeah.
So the conversation or discussion or maybe even argument
is genuine.
Correct. And can happen naturally in front of the cameras. And we then get something that feels natural, feels like a conversation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, exactly what we're doing is we purposely haven't discussed this beforehand.
Yeah.
And if we find ourselves discussing it and the cameras aren't rolling, we sit down and quickly and discuss it on camera.
Yeah. Let's discuss it.
So it's as free form as it gets. And I personally feel a lot more comfortable doing it this way.
And let me tell you, I think it's so important that when you are thinking about putting together a podcast, discussing this aspect in the early stages is important because it's going to determine how the preparation and content planning happens before your podcast.
Yeah. 100%.
Because you've got to know how much either scripting needs to happen or topic discussion needs to happen, or if any of that even needs to happen before you sit down in the studio.
I think there's also a little bit that you can play with. You know, if you're unsure, try it 2 different ways.
Yes.
I mean, if you think about this is not the first time we've done a podcast, and we've adjusted our format slightly and got it into it, and we've discovered that this kind of format suits our objectives better.
And the personalities. So, you know, I think if you are putting together something more corporate, being able to have an understanding of the people who are going to be recorded and who are physically involved, getting a sense of what feels natural for them is quite important early on for you to know what's going to work. But like you say, there's nothing wrong with putting them down in the studio and testing some stuff to see what comes through naturally.
I mean, I'm a big believer in development, right? Creative development. And I think it's something that people forget to do is, yes, we've got these amazing plans, but let's test it. Let's try it. Let's experiment a little bit before we commit to these big things. So if you've got the luxury to do that, do it. It's just going to improve it. Okay, so we're free-forming this whole thing. What is chaos? An experimental. I actually like the word experimental because that's could be useful.
Yeah, I think
a little bit more loose.
It's a lot more unpredictable, and often there's a lot of improv. Yeah. There's a few examples. There's one example I see all the time. There's Australian guys drinking and telling jokes.
Yeah,
that is just chaos.
Yeah.
But it's highly entertaining. So that's an example. A lot of comedians do it.
It's down to personality.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know,
the personalities
if the energy, if the energy is right, that can work. And like you say, it can be entertaining. But the risk here, so obviously we've gone from very little risk to much more.
Yeah.
The risk with the chaos form is that if it's falling flat, everyone is going to feel that. I guess we've got a scale here of very little risk in your scripted form to chaos, tremendous risk. And a lot of that's just going to come down to the energy of the people in the room. If it's falling flat, if it's not vibing, disaster.
Yeah. So maybe
Everyone will feel it.
chaos maybe for the participants and the fact that they're not that well prepared, but not in the production team that set this whole thing up.
Yeah.
Well, I think it can be. I think it can be chaotic to the point where you sort of it becomes a little bit incoherent, which can make it quite a hard editing job too, I think.
Yeah.
And I think even with freeform, like we're doing now, you run the risk as soon as it's not scripted of potentially rambling. And from the chaotic side,
Yes.
it can just descend into
Experience comes in here as well.
Yeah.
Right? So if you are sitting with people that you're comfortable with, or the person that's the host is comfortable pulling stuff out of people, then a free form or chaos is fine because there's experience there to know what to do. They've got a question in their mind to ask next so that it doesn't get awkward. Or if one of the guests is rambling or taking over the conversation and not letting other guests get a word in edgeways, that's where experience comes in. And
to rein it back in.
Yeah. If there's a good host, they can cut in, they can say, okay, lovely, thank you, Janet. Pipe down. Let's let Rich have a go.
I suppose the appeal of the chaotic and experimental is they are so different.
Yeah.
That they stand out,
Yes.
So I think there's a place. I find a lot of kids content, never mind podcasts, but just kids content, chaotic.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it works really well in that segment.
Absolutely.
Because kids love watching other kids play for some reason.
Again, your audience, knowing them, what they're interested in and what they are going to tolerate, hugely important.
Yeah.
The kid's not looking at the production value. They're not worried.
Yeah. No, they're not.
If the person speaking is rambling on, they're engaged in a different way to how an adult would be engaged with that content. So, it isn't necessarily that there is a format that is right or wrong or better or worse. It's rather the format has to suit the content and has to suit the audience.
And it's always got to be entertaining to
a degree.
point, whether entertainment is transfer of valuable information,
yeah,
or is engaging in some other way.
Yeah.
It's just always got to be some sort of form of entertainment. Right?
The further you move from scripted and the closer towards chaotic, I think more of your personality can come out. A lot of those like really chaotic ones have kind of like cult followings. They're sort of very niche, and people really get to know the people and like the people. So
yeah.
I suppose if I relate it to the TV world, it's scripted drama versus scripted reality versus reality.
Reality with just people being followed around by cameras
versus Blair Witch Project experiment. So I suppose there's always a range.
Yes.
But I think the point is decide on what you want.
Yeah.
What you want.
I think the one other thing I'd like to just say in terms of when you're thinking about the format that's going to suit your podcast is also understanding what you plan to do with the material. So having the podcast there for people to engage with by listening or watching is one thing, but being able to also utilize that content elsewhere is going to make a difference. So if you are really trying to become a thought leader and you'd like to create content that's also going to be useful in your LinkedIn space, for example, then you're probably going to be going more cautiously and do something more scripted or freeform. But the reward for if you're doing something chaotic is that when things really do work, the viral content that you could get out of that also can really pay dividends. So, that's what makes this so difficult.
It is. And but I think you hit something on the head there. Like that medical thing we did, that podcast, what we did with that, because it was so structured, we were able to repackage that and broadcast it on linear television.
Okay, yeah.
And it met the broadcaster standards.
Right.
Where something chaotic
absolutely
will
not
be broadcast on linear television. Well, maybe in another country, but not this country. So it gave us the opportunity to multi-platform a single piece of content. And it did really well on both platforms.
Tremendous cost saving there for the brand.
Massive cost saving for the brand. So, and it really ticked all their objectives and it did well. So that's also a consideration. Like you said, where is it going?
Yeah.
How can we strip this content into a million different pieces? How do we make shorts out of it?
Yeah.
How do we do this?
Yeah.
How do we do that?
But if you are thinking that you want some viral content, or you want something that's really going to, be terribly shareable, you cannot plan that.
Yeah, you can't plan to go viral.
Well,
you can plan to be outrageous.
Well,
or shock
absolutely.
value.
Yes, absolutely. But you can't, if you're putting together a content calendar and you write, I need a piece like this for this platform and a piece like this for this platform, and it's going to be this long, and, I want it vertical and portrait and forget about it. So this is a challenge that marketers have. They are looking to plan content. You can't do that to the kind of degree that we often want if you are going in the chaos direction. You have to wait for that piece to be finished before you can say, okay, I can get a piece for social, I can get a piece for, some kind of viral shareability. You can't know precisely what you're going to get until that episode is done, and maybe it works, but maybe it also doesn't.
Yeah, so it's more risky in that
Absolutely,
sense.
yes. But when it works, amazing.
Yeah, but like take those comedian style things. They've set up enough parameters to know magic will happen.
Something is going to happen.
We just don't know what it's going to look like. To your point, and then the agencies don't know how to plan for that.
Well, that's fine. If you've got 3 fantastic, talented comedians around the table, chances are, yes, magic will happen.
Yeah.
But if you're doing something that's more corporate or for a brand, unless you have got that kind of talent around the table,
chaotic magic will probably not ensue.
Chaotic magic is going to feel stiff and stilted.
Or it might, but it's going to do nothing for your brand. Like even that comedy thing, if there was a brand bringing that to you, I missed it. Because you can't chaotically plan brand messaging. Unless that's your brand message.
Chaos.
Chaos. Take Red Bull, for example. We all love Red Bull's marketing strategy. It's not repeatable. They don't film chaos. They film other people doing chaotic things. And they're known for extreme sports, and they're known for comedy, and they're known for all these things that they do. And they don't have to say anything about the brand because it's in their strategy.
Yeah.
Where other brands don't have that luxury. It's not the strategy.
Yeah. Again, based on what you know about your audience and what you're trying to do as a business, that's going to determine the format that's right for you. And there's no right or wrong.
Yeah.
But, some's going to give you great structure and planning and multiple platforms that are all going to look really neat and tidy, and that golden thread is there the whole way through. Others, you've got to be able to be a bit more loose, roll with it.
I think in summary, there's no right or wrong, and there's no we've sort of given 3 different types, but there's also, you don't have to pick a type. There's no right or wrong. You can do 100 of
gray in between.
You can go in between. You can have a scripted section.
I think in between is the right mix. Sort of lean in and out of different styles as you go, depending on what you're trying to do.
Should we try chaos on our next step?
Yeah.
I have no thoughts on that.
Carl's not in.
We'll take this offline. So while we're thinking or not thinking about the chaos, why don't you guys let us know what kind of formats of content you like, chaotic, scripted. Send us some examples, ask questions. We'd love to hear from you. And until next time, Rich, Janet, thank you so much.
Pleasure.